Yeah, we might be able to announce another factory location later this year. Okay, where should we build it? Okay, we got a lot of Canadas. No, I'm half Canadian, so maybe I should. Well, I think ultimately we'll end up building, I don't know, probably at least 10 or 12 gigafactories. Aiming for average output of like 1.5 to 2 million units per factory, which is enormous.
Welcome back to Rockstock Channel, and thanks for checking in. Today's video focuses on my speculation that the next new Gigafactory Tesla announces will be in Canada. I also delve into which province in Canada is most likely to attract this new plant and which potential upstream suppliers could benefit. As I always say on these videos, I am not a financial advisor and nothing I say should be construed as investment advice. Please do your own research and check the disclaimer at the end of this video or on RK Equity's website. I start by summarizing some significant developments in the US and Canada since the Biden administration took over from Trump last January. The energy transition narrative is being backed by significant government policy support in both countries, including funding mechanisms on both the demand and supply side. This support, combined with Tesla's enormous success in making electric vehicles mainstream, is helping to attract substantial private investments in both countries, targeting the full spectrum of the supply chain, from EVs to batteries to cathode materials to chemicals to mines. In coming videos, I will talk more about the carrots and sticks in the recently enacted Inflation Reduction Act, aka the Electric Metals Inflation Act. This and other measures the Biden administration has passed in the name of tackling climate change and reshoring supply chains will continue to provide a substantial tailwind for the upstream raw materials investment thematic. I mentioned a few weeks ago Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on a trip to Korea dropping the idea of friendshoring. I hadn't realized that this concept is enshrined in White House documentation. Canada, like Korea, is one of the 20 countries that have signed free trade agreements with the USA. But among America's friends, I would suggest its next-door neighbor, Canada, is first among equals. As it pertains to critical minerals, Canada is viewed by the USA Defense Department as a domestic source, meaning Pentagon funding from the Defense Production Act could be made available to Canadian projects. Piece of trivia: Piedmont Lithium and Sayona Mining will soon be restarting in Val-d'Or, Quebec, the same mine that supplied lithium to the United States in the 1950s for its hydrogen bomb program. Localization and shorter supply chains have very much been an Elon Musk focus since Battery Day. Recall, in addition to the Austin Gigafactory, which will make EVs and batteries, Elon and Drew Baglino talked about building nearby Tesla cathode and Tesla lithium hydroxide. They also touted a new nickel processing technology. Canada, in particular its eastern provinces, seem well suited for something similar. Canada is filled with entrepreneurs heeding Elon's calls by advancing projects in the country and neighboring states to mine more nickel, such as Tesla partner Talon Metals operating just across the border in Minnesota and now Michigan. Likewise, there is no shortage of developers in Canada seeking to make software margins in the lithium business, like future Tesla supplier Piedmont from North Carolina. As it has with Syra Resources in Louisiana, I would expect Tesla or its suppliers should be attracted to natural graphite developers like Nouveau Monde Graphite in Quebec. A Tesla Gigafactory announcement in Canada by the end of this year would follow many other substantial announcements from its suppliers and competitors. Since the beginning of the year, the following announcements have been made. March 7th, BASF announced its intention to produce cathode materials and recycled batteries in Quebec from 2025. They've secured a plot of land in Bécancour, and planning work has already begun. Subject to permitting, BASF is aiming for commissioning in 2025. March 8th, Korea's POSCO Chemical established a joint venture with GM to produce cathodes for EV batteries. The $400 million investment, also in Bécancour, will supply cathodes to Ultium Cells, GM's battery-making JV with LG Energy Solutions, also from Korea. Construction will begin immediately. March 16th, Honda Motors, Canadian manufacturing arm, will invest $1.1 billion over 6 years to upgrade its plants in Ontario to make its new hybrid SUV for the North American market. The investment would make the facility the biggest plant in the region for the 2023 CR-V hybrid crossover and includes equal grants of $132 million from the governments of Canada and Ontario. March 23rd, Stellantis and LG Energy Solution will invest about $4.1 billion through a joint venture to establish a large-scale EV battery manufacturing facility in Windsor, Ontario. Construction will begin later this year, with operations planned to launch in Q1 2024. May 2nd, lithium producer Livent is buying a further 25% stake in Nemaska, buying out its partner Pallinghurst in return for 17.5 million Livent shares. Based on Livent's approximate $25 price at the time, this equated to about a $440 million investment, effectively valuing 100% of this pre-production brownfield spodumene asset at $1.8 billion. July 13th, Umicore announces a $1.2 billion factory in Ontario to make battery cathode materials. Construction will start in 2023, be operational by the end of 2025, and by 2030, annual capacity could power 1 million EVs. July 22nd, Korea's SK On and EcoPro announced with Ford a three-way joint venture to make cathode materials somewhere in North America. The three companies plan to sign a binding contract within this year and to start construction in the second half of next year. While the exact location of this plant has not yet been announced, I speculate this will more likely be in Canada than Mexico. Were it to be in the USA, I doubt Ford would have used the North America descriptor. In addition to these larger investments, in May and June, some major mining and oil companies invested some small amounts in Canadian startups. Calgary-based oilfield brine startup E3 Lithium received a $5 million investment from ExxonMobil's Canadian subsidiary Imperial Oil. Vancouver-based cathode technology startup Nano One got $10 million from Rio Tinto following its announcement of a joint development agreement with BASF and an acquisition at a deep discount of the failed Johnson Matthey Battery Materials LFP facility in Quebec. In graphite, Quebec's Nouveau Monde Graphite consolidated its hold on the country's best graphite deposits, formalizing a joint venture and $2.5 million investment in Mason Graphite. Elon Musk clearly has an affinity for and deep connections to Canada. He is half Canadian, from his 73-year-old supermodel mother's side. When he emigrated from South Africa at age 17, he arrived with $2,000 in a suitcase full of books, and he started university at Queen's University in Ontario. Much of Tesla's lithium-ion battery brain trust emanates from the mind and labs at Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, led by physics professor Jeff Dahn. In 2019, Tesla acquired Ontario-based battery manufacturer Hybar Systems, one of very few acquisitions Tesla has thus far made. Assuming I'm right that Canada is firmly in Elon's sights for an announcement this year, which province will it be? Could Calgary be Tesla's Austin? Oily Alberta is often considered the Texas of Canada. America's Kingmaker Senator Manchin visited Alberta this spring. Drew Baglino commented very positively at Stanford in May about the potential for the type of oil field lithium E3 Lithium is pursuing in the province.
We just want to learn about what's exciting in your brain you want to share with people.
Yeah, turning oil wells into energy storage, that sounds exciting. I mean, yeah, or lithium wells is another exciting thing to use those oil brines for. But
nevertheless, I doubt we'll see Tesla Alberta. While there is certainly a narrative around the province's energy transition to lithium, it is still very much a fossil fuel-based economy and labor force. There's not a great deal of manufacturing, and the grid is not that clean. Beyond lithium, there's no nickel, cobalt, graphite in the province. Further, Alberta and the surrounding U.S. states are generally low population centers compared to the East. I think being physically close to lots of customers is important. Tesla Austin was meant to address a logistics problem and high cost of shipping cars from Fremont, California. Austin, Texas is well placed to serve southern USA populations, but is less ideal for the largest and richest population centers in the mid-Atlantic states, including New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Washington, D.C. These states, as well as Canada's largest and richest province of Ontario and Quebec, are also the largest EV and Tesla buyers. So to the extent Elon is weighing Canada, I think it will likely be a choice between these two provinces. And between the two, I think Ontario, which is already a main auto and auto parts hub for Canada, would be more likely for Tesla's downstream EV and battery gigafactory. Ontario already produces more vehicles than any other jurisdiction in North America, with 5 of the world's top manufacturers, GM, Ford, Stellantis, Toyota, Honda, operating assembly plants in Windsor, Brampton, Oakville, Alliston, Woodstock, Cambridge, Ingersoll, and Bolton. Thank you, Wikipedia. Magna International, the world's 4th largest auto parts manufacturer, is based in Ontario. If you look closely at the investments I mentioned earlier, Quebec is largely attracting the midstream ones, cathodes, lithium hydroxide, and graphite, while Ontario has attracted the EV and battery plants. That said, Ontario also attracted Umicore for cathodes, and Sudbury, Ontario is a main nickel and cobalt hub. Glencore and Vale have substantial mining and refining operations in the province, and Electra Battery Materials is expected to start up cobalt sulfate processing by Q4 of this year, and then start a recycling and nickel sulfate operation in the future. Frontier Lithium is developing what is likely North America's largest and highest grade spodumene lithium deposit, while Green Technology Metals and Patriot Battery have also been having exploration success in the province. Quebec has no meaningful auto manufacturing, though Lion Electric, a startup bus maker that went public via SPAC, is making a go of it in the province. On the other hand, Quebec is one of the most important aluminum locations in the world. I've talked about the ABCs of Quebec: anodes, Bécancour, and cathodes. I recently visited the Bécancour industrial region, touring Nouveau Monde and their partner Olin's facilities. I left incredibly impressed and confident in the region's ability to become a major battery, chemical, and cathode hub. I wouldn't be surprised if the SK, EcoPro, and Ford joint venture picks Bécancour for their North American location. As much or more than Ontario, Quebec is very rich in lithium deposits. In addition to Piedmont and Sayona bringing back to the future Quebec Lithium in Val d'Or next year, Critical Elements Lithium could be in production by 2024 once they get their final federal permit, which could be any day now. Livent is targeting 2025 production at Nemaska, and Allchem could bring James Bay into production in a similar timeframe. Earlier stage projects like Sayona's Moblan and new exploration plays like Winsome Resources could also attract attention as they grow their resources. Tesla has thus far demonstrated a strong preference for spodumene above all other lithium types. Albemarle and Ganfeng are its biggest suppliers, sourced from hard rock. The only offtake agreements of consequence with juniors that Tesla has signed are with spodumene developers. Piedmont in 2020 followed Kidman, now Wesfarmers, in 2018. Core and Liontown are 2021 and 2022 vintage. I continue to speculate that Rio Tinto may buy Livent for synergies with its recent Argentina lithium brine purchase, and as it could replicate in lithium refining its substantial aluminum presence in Quebec. When Ford announced the lithium MOU with Rio's Rincon in Argentina, they referenced their already existing relationship with the company in aluminum. Tesla, too, is a huge consumer of aluminum, the production of which is massively energy intensive and benefits greatly from clean and cheap hydropower, which is in abundance in Quebec. In other words, Tesla would benefit not just from proximate critical battery materials, but aluminum as well for gigacasting its auto bodies. So to summarize, the United States is and will likely remain Tesla's biggest market for some time. Geographical proximity to dense populations of affluent customers will likely be an important driver in deciding where to build its next gigafactory. Government carrots and sticks in both the USA and Canada are factors in deciding where to build. Creating a more secure, sustainable, and localized supply chain from mine to chemical to cathode to battery to EV will likely be a key driver of this decision. There are few places in the world that have Canada's combination of low sovereign risk, skilled labor, auto assembly expertise, clean power, and mining-friendly attitude. Among America's 20 free trade agreement friends, next-door neighbor Canada surely ranks as America's bestie. Given hints by Elon Musk at Tesla's recent AGM and previously, and his strong personal and business ties to Canada, I think there's a strong chance when he announces Tesla's next Gigafactory, it will be in Canada, likely in Ontario. I've mentioned many upstream lithium, nickel, graphite, and cobalt players in Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta who are poised to benefit from the substantial downstream investments already underway in the country. A Tesla Canada Gigafactory announcement would provide another substantial tailwind for all these companies, which tend to trade at discounts to their peers in Australia and elsewhere. Apart from Canada, there's been some speculation that Tesla's next Gigafactory will be in Indonesia, but this speculation has been fed largely by leaks from the country's prime minister, never yet corroborated by any words or actions by Tesla. Elon has suggested he will build 10 to 12 more gigafactories in time, so we shouldn't rule out Indonesia. But the logic of Indonesia rests largely on its position as the biggest producer of nickel, which is not produced in the most sustainable way. There's already been some outcry from a broad swath of NGOs and other opponents against Tesla counting on Indonesia to meet its nickel demands, which make me skeptical that Elon would prefer Indonesia to Canada or some other jurisdiction closer to his biggest market. What are your thoughts? Do you think Elon Musk is likely to pick Canada next, or will Indonesia or somewhere else be next? Let me know what you think in the comments.